Assalamu alaikum. Today on Noran Academy, we're diving into celestial wealth, the ethics of asteroid mining. If you benefit from this explainer, please consider supporting us by subscribing and sharing it as a form of ongoing charity or sadaqah.
For pretty much all of human history, we've looked down, right, to the earth beneath our feet for everything, our sustenance, our resources, our wealth. But that's all changing. We are standing at the very edge of a totally new frontier, one that's calling us to look up, to the heavens themselves.
So let's start with a really big question. What if everything we've ever fought over on this planet, all the resources, everything we've mined, everything we've built our civilizations with, what if all of that is just a tiny, tiny fraction of what's actually out there for us?
I mean, what if the very metals that power your phone, our computers, our entire modern world, what if they're just floating silently right now, right above our heads, locked away inside asteroids that are older than the Earth itself?
And look, this isn't some far-off science fiction dream. This is the next great leap, both economically and technologically. We're getting ready to mine not mountains or oceans, but asteroids. And with this new reality comes a question, a huge question, that our ancestors never, ever had to think about.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little. Let's move from the big idea to the actual concrete facts of what this new space economy is going to look like. So these asteroids, they're not just big inert rocks floating around. No way. They are treasure chests, basically, full of incredibly valuable stuff. We're talking about platinum group metals, which are crucial for all our electronics. We're talking about massive amounts of nickel and iron, and maybe most importantly, water. Because that water can be split into hydrogen and oxygen, and that is literally the rocket fuel that's going to power our entire future in space. And the scale here, it's almost hard to wrap your head around. Get this, some single asteroids, just one, are thought to hold more precious and industrial metals than humanity has mined in our entire history on Earth. The value isn't in the billions, it's in the trillions of dollars.
Think about what this means. The implications are absolutely staggering. This is so much bigger than just getting rich. It's about fundamentally changing our entire civilization. It could mean the end of scarcity for critical resources. It could mean we dramatically reduce the destructive mining that's scarring our own planet. And it could give us the real building blocks to create a permanent human presence out there in space.
And don't get it twisted, this future is coming up fast. We're not just talking theory. Missions like NASA's OSIRIS-REx have already gone out there and brought back samples from an asteroid. You've got private companies right now pioneering robotic miners and making launch systems way cheaper. History isn't just spreading out across the globe anymore. It's reaching up, into the cosmos.
When you hear industry experts say things like this, you really have to listen. The whole economic center of gravity is starting to shift. And the people building this new age, they're already hard at work. But all this incredible wealth, it brings with it an even bigger, more important question. And that brings us right to the heart of our discussion today. We've talked about what's out there and a little bit about how we might get it, but now we have to talk about the who.
So, who actually owns the resources of the heavens? Who gets to claim all this wealth? Is it just finders keepers? Does it belong to whichever nation has the most advanced rockets? Or is there a higher principle we need to consider?
Well, from an Islamic perspective, the answer is incredibly clear. It's definitive. This one verse from the Quran completely reframes the entire conversation. It tells us we aren't the owners. We're not conquerors.
And this leads us to this core Islamic concept, amanah. It means a sacred trust, a stewardship. The idea is that the resources of the entire universe, they aren't some prize to be won. They're a sacred trust, a responsibility that's been placed on our shoulders by the Creator. We're allowed to benefit from them, sure, but we are absolutely forbidden from causing corruption or injustice or waste. We're caretakers, not masters.
Now, this isn't some new idea we just came up with for space. It's a timeless principle that we now have to apply to a brand new frontier. And actually, our own history gives us a kind of blueprint for how to think about this.
Think back to when Muslim explorers and merchants were charting new sea routes. Their whole guiding ethic was about connecting people, trading with justice. It wasn't about colonizing and exploiting. Well, today, the frontier isn't the deep sea, it's deep space. But that core principle of being a just steward, it stays exactly the same. And holding on to that timeless responsibility means we have to ask the really hard questions right now, before it's too late. Is all this new wealth from space going to benefit everyone, all of humanity? Or is it just going to be hoarded by a powerful few? Are we really just going to export all our earthly problems, our conflicts, our greed, up into the heavens?
You know, the Islamic position here is crystal clear. Power without justice is oppression. It doesn't matter if that's happening in a tiny village or in orbit around Mars. The sheer vastness of space doesn't make us less accountable to the Creator. If anything, it magnifies that accountability.
So, what does all this mean for us, right here and right now? This is not just some abstract, theoretical discussion for scholars. It's a direct call to action. So, if you're a Muslim aerospace engineer designing the very spacecraft that will reach these new worlds, your work isn't just technical, it is deeply ethical.
And if you're an economist, figuring out the policies that are going to govern all this new wealth, your economic models have to be built on a rock-solid foundation of justice and equity.
And if you're a student, dreaming of the stars, not letting the horizon limit your imagination, we need your ambition. The global community, the ummah, we need your vision. And that vision has to be guided by faith, by a moral compass.
Look, our global community, the ummah, has to be right at the forefront of this new era. We can't just be bystanders, we have to be its ethical architects. We need engineers whose faith, their iman, actually informs their innovation. We need economists whose #1 metric isn't profit but justice. And we need leaders who see the heavens for what they are, a sacred trust, an amanah, not just another territory to conquer.
Our ancestors, guided by their principles, literally shaped global trade and the expansion of knowledge right here on Earth. That challenge, it's now been passed to us. The frontier is infinitely bigger, and that means the responsibility is too. So the final question is really for you to think about. If they changed the world then, what are you going to build now? Presented and created by Noron Studio.